Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video lecture, we are going to learn everything about a histogram. Let's begin. So what is a histogram? A histogram is also a type of bar diagram where the horizontal axis represents the class interval. The frequency of the class interval is represented by the height of the bars. Since there is no gap between the class intervals, there is no gap between the bars as well. As the width of class interval is same, all the bars are of same width. So, what are we understanding from all these 4 points? A histogram is also a type of bar diagram first of all. Histogram will also be in the form of bars, but the horizontal axis will represent what? The horizontal axis will represent our class intervals. What we studied in the previous video about class intervals, those class intervals will now be represented by the horizontal axis. And the frequency that we learned, all the frequency for such class intervals will be represented by the height of the bars. That how much the bar, how much height is that of the bar, that will give us the frequency for the class interval. Now we know that there is no gap between class intervals. If the first interval is from 0 to 10, the other will be 10 to 20, similarly 20 to 30 and so on. Since there is no gap between the class intervals, therefore in histogram also the bars don't have a gap between them. While in a bar graph there was the equal gap between every bar, but there is no gap between the class intervals when we are making a histogram, because there is no gap. Why is there is no gap between the bars in a histogram? Because there is no gap between the class intervals. We already know that. And the fourth point states that we know that the width of all the class intervals will be same. That is why all the bars will also have the same width, because the width of the class intervals or the size of class intervals is the same for all class intervals. So the first one we have is, let us consider the grouped frequency distribution of the marks obtained by 60 students in mathematics test. So this is the class interval 0 to 10, 10 to 20 and so on till 50 to 60. This is the frequency, that is how many numbers scored the scored marks in belonging to this group. 10 will be here, 20 will be here. So this is the frequency and this is total number of students being 60. Now we are going to make a histogram. We have written the marks of the students in the x-axis because this is our class intervals, and class intervals are written on the horizontal axis, the x-axis, and we have written the frequency, that is the number of students, in the on the y-axis, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, we have given a gap of 2 to each. The scale that we have used is 2 units. In here also, because we know that the width of the class interval, the size of the class interval was 10, so we have given a gap of 10 between each value, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and still 60. Now for making a histogram, we will begin from 0 to 10. 0 to 10, the frequency is 2, so their height will correspond, the height for this bar will correspond to the value 2. Similarly, for 10 to 20, now see, the value is 10. So the 10 to 20 bar will go till 10 this. So this is 10 to 20. Now for 20 to 30, similarly 21. And similarly 19, 7, 1 and total when we add all these frequencies we are getting 60. So this is how a histogram looks and this is how we construct a histogram. We draw a histogram for the given data. Now the points that are written is bars of equal width with no gaps in between. So in a histogram, there are bars that have equal width, but there is no gap in between these bars. The next point is that the height of bar gives us the number of data items in a particular group, and that is what is known as the frequency. So the height of these bars are giving us the frequency, that is the value or the number of data items in a particular group. This is the frequency. Height is giving us the frequency. Now we have represented the groups of observation, that is class intervals, on the horizontal axis. We know on the x-axis we represent the class intervals and the height of bars show the frequency of the class interval. We also know that there is no gap between the bars. Why? Because there is no gap between the class intervals also. Such a graphical representation of data is known as a histogram. So when all these conditions are satisfied, then the manner of graphical representation of data is called a histogram. This is what a histogram is. We have got a question to try. Observe the histogram below and answer the questions. So this is a histogram. We can see heights in centimeters and the number of girls of class 8th, class 7th. What is written? The first part is what information is being given by the histogram. So what is the information that this histogram provides us, that this histogram is giving us? It is telling us about the number of girls of class 7th that have heights in centimeter in these intervals from 125 to 135, 135 to 40, 140 and so on. So it represents this. Now the next part is which group contains maximum girls. So you can see that the frequency is given by the height of the bar. So which bar has the maximum height? We can see that this bar has the maximum height. See, this bar has the maximum height. And this bar corresponds to which class interval? 145 to 150. So we can say that 7 girls are in this group. We can say which group contains maximum girls? This group, that is from 145 to 150 centimeters height. This group contains the maximum number of girls and the number of girls is 7 in this. What is the next question? How many girls have a height of 145 centimeters and more? So you can see that 145 centimeters is this. Now we need to find the number of girls having height of 145 centimeters and more. So more is to the right of 145. That is 150, 155, 160 and 165. So in order to find this answer, we are going to add all these numbers. So 7 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 will give us the total number of girls that have height 145 and more. That is 7, 8, 9, 10 and 14 girls. So 14 girls have height of 145 centimeters and more than it till 165. Next part is if we divide the girls into the following 3 categories. Now we are dividing girls into following 3 categories. We need to find that how many girls would be in each of these categories. First category being group A, that is 150 centimeter and more. So 150 centimeter is this and more will be the right side of this. So 4, 2 and 1. We will add 4 plus 2 plus 1 and that will give us 7 girls. So 7 girls will be in group A because they have height more than 150 centimeter and more than it. The next group is group B. In this we are writing the number of girls who have 140 centimeter to less than 150 centimeter height. So from 140 this to less than 150 this. How many girls are there? There are 3 plus 7. 3 plus 7, that is 10 girls that have height 140 centimeter to less than 150 centimeters. Next we have is group C and it is less than 140 centimeters. So this is 140 centimeter and lesser than will be given by the left side of it. That is 125 to 135 and so on, 135 to 140. That is we will be adding 1 plus 2, that is 3. So there are total 3 girls that have who have height lesser than 140 centimeters. This was everything about a histogram, what a histogram is, what is its conditions, how we draw it, and then we did some of the examples in which we solved some questions related to a given histogram. In the next video, we are going to learn about a circle graph, or we call it as a pie chart. We will meet in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.